Have you ever felt stuck staring at the ceiling at night, knowing you need to change your life, but can't even get out of bed on time? What if I told you that your entire life could change in just 5 seconds? Yes, 5 seconds. This isn't magic. This is science, and it is the story of a woman who went from rock bottom to global success with a single simple habit. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear might just be the wake-up call you've been waiting for. Don't forget to subscribe right now so you never miss powerful, life-changing stories. Every story of transformation begins with a moment of truth, a moment when a person is standing at the edge of despair and searching for even the smallest spark of hope. For Mel Robbins, that moment came in her darkest hours when life seemed impossible, overwhelming and hopeless. Today, she is one of the most recognized motivational speakers and authors in the world. But her story didn't begin on a stage, under the spotlight, or with applause. It began in a small house, on mornings she couldn't even get out of bed. Mel Robbins was once just like millions of people who struggle silently every single day. She was burdened by self-doubt, financial troubles, and a constant fear that life was slipping away from her. She had dreams, but the weight of her problems seemed heavier than her ability to rise. Imagine waking up every morning knowing you need to change, yet hitting the snooze button on your alarm again and again. That was Mel. Her mornings were battles she often lost before the day even began. At that time in her life, Mel was facing financial ruin. Her husband's restaurant business was failing, debt was piling up, and the family was drowning in stress. Arguments filled the air of their home, and the tension seemed unbearable. Mel, once a successful lawyer, felt powerless, directionless, and deeply ashamed. She struggled not only to find hope, but to believe she was capable of more. Every day became a cycle of fear, worry, and avoidance. She was stuck in a downward spiral, but here is where her story becomes powerful. In the midst of this despair, Mel discovered something simple, something so simple most people would laugh at it. One night, as she sat watching television, an idea sparked. She saw a rocket launch on the screen and she thought, tomorrow morning, I'm going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket. It sounded ridiculous. It wasn't backed by science at that time, but something inside her told her to try. The next morning, the alarm rang, and instead of hitting snooze, she counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she stood up. That one decision changed everything. She didn't know it yet, but this small countdown would become the foundation of a life-changing rule that would transform not only her own life, but also the lives of millions around the world. It was the birth of what is now famously known as the 5-second rule. The brilliance of this rule lies in its simplicity. Human brains are wired to hesitate, to overthink, and to avoid discomfort. When we hesitate, our brain talks us out of action. But by counting backward, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you disrupt that pattern and force yourself to act. It bypasses excuses, it silences self-doubt, and it gives you a moment of courage. Mel tested it, and every time she counted down and moved, she felt stronger, braver, and more alive. In those early days, Mel began applying the rule everywhere. Getting out of bed? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stand up. Feeling nervous to make a phone call? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dial. Avoiding a hard conversation? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, speak. Slowly, step by step, the rule gave her the power to face life again. It wasn't magic, it was momentum. Small actions repeated over time were rebuilding her confidence and reshaping her life. What makes this story truly inspiring is not just the discovery of the rule, but the transformation it created. Within months, Mel was regaining control over her emotions and choices. She was no longer paralyzed by fear. She was no longer held hostage by her own doubts. And though the financial struggles didn't disappear overnight, her mindset began to change. She was learning that action, not thought, was the key to change, and all it took was 5 seconds. This was the beginning of a journey that would eventually lead Mel to write a best-selling book, deliver one of the most watched TEDx talks in history, and inspire millions worldwide. But before all of that, she was simply a woman proving to herself that courage could be built one decision at a time. Part 1 of her journey teaches us this: transformation doesn't always start with a grand plan or a detailed strategy. Sometimes it starts with a single decision, a countdown, and a willingness to try. It starts in the small, invisible battles, like getting out of bed, that no one else sees, but which determine the course of our lives. As Mel continued to apply the 5-second rule, her world began to change in ways she never imagined. It was no longer just about getting out of bed in the morning. The rule became a tool for courage, discipline, and growth. She started facing challenges that once terrified her. She began speaking up in meetings, making tough phone calls, and saying yes to opportunities instead of shrinking away from them. Slowly but surely, the momentum built. What started as a simple trick became a life-changing principle. Mel realized that the power was never in motivation. It was in action. Motivation comes and goes, but action creates results. Every time she counted backwards and took a step forward, her confidence grew. She was rewiring her brain, teaching herself that she was capable of more than she had ever believed. But the road was not smooth. There were setbacks, failures, and days when the fear returned stronger than ever. Yet each time, she reminded herself of the rule: 5 seconds of courage. That was all she needed. It wasn't about being fearless. It was about acting in spite of fear. And with that, she began to rise. One of her biggest breakthroughs came when she was invited to give a TEDx talk. Standing on that stage, she shared her story of the 5-second rule with the world. She had no idea that her talk would go viral, reaching millions of people across the globe. Suddenly, she was not just a woman who saved her own life. She was a voice of hope for millions struggling with doubt, fear, and procrastination. The impact was extraordinary. People from every walk of life began to write to her: students, parents, athletes, entrepreneurs, telling her how this simple rule had helped them change their lives. Some got out of toxic relationships, some started new businesses, and others finally found the courage to pursue their dreams. The 5-second rule was no longer just Mel's secret. It was a global movement. Through all this, Mel remained honest about her struggles. She didn't present herself as someone perfect or fearless. Instead, she showed that even the strongest people face fear, doubt, and failure. The difference is what you do in those 5 seconds, when your heart tells you to act, but your brain tells you to stop. That is the moment that defines your future. Her journey teaches us this powerful truth. You don't have to wait for confidence. You don't have to wait for the right time. You don't even have to feel ready. All you need is the courage to act. 5 seconds of courage, and your life can begin to change. Success brought Mel recognition, but it also brought new challenges. With every stage she stepped onto, with every book she wrote, the expectations grew higher. People looked to her for answers, for motivation, for hope. And though she had become a voice of change, inside she still wrestled with doubt, fear, and the weight of responsibility. There were moments when she questioned herself. Who am I to inspire others? What if I fail them? What if they find out I'm not perfect? These thoughts returned again and again, but each time she remembered the lesson she had lived. It's not about being fearless or flawless. It is about moving forward despite the imperfections. Her book, The 5-Second Rule, became an international bestseller, translated into dozens of languages and read by millions. From CEOs to athletes, from teachers to students, people everywhere were applying her rule to push past hesitation and take control of their lives. The simple idea of counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, had unlocked a doorway to courage. But Mel's journey did not end there. She continued to write, to speak, and to share her truth. Later, she published The High Five Habit, another powerful tool for self-belief and positivity. Through her books, podcasts, and shows, she reminded the world that change is not about big miracles. It is about small actions, repeated daily, with courage. At the heart of her message is this truth: your life will not change when you feel ready. It will change the moment you decide to act. You don't need to be special, rich, or fearless. You just need those 5 seconds of courage. And once you take that step, the world begins to open in ways you never thought possible. Today, Mel Robbins is one of the most respected motivational speakers and authors in the world. But beyond the fame and success, her story remains deeply human. She is not a superhero. She is a woman who was once stuck, broke, and hopeless, yet found a way out through a simple act of courage. That is why her message touches millions, because if she could change her life, so can you. Mel Robbins' journey is proof that sometimes the smallest tools can create the biggest transformations. Her life teaches us that we don't need perfect plans, endless motivation, or ideal circumstances. What we really need is the courage to act, even when we don't feel ready. The 5-second rule is not just a trick, it's a reminder that inside all of us is the power to change. 5 seconds of courage can be the difference between staying stuck and moving forward, between silence and speaking up, between fear and freedom. So the next time you hesitate, the next time you doubt yourself, remember Mel's lesson. Count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move, because life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Thank you for watching the inspiring story of Mel Robbins. If this story motivated you, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel Dreamland Stories for more life-changing stories. And remember, your life can change in just 5 seconds of courage.